Dark of the Moon Wheeljack, or Q, if you want to call him the weird James Bond name that they called him in the movie. Very, very interesting character design. Very interesting character as well. He's literally just Albert Einstein, but a giant robot that turns into a blue Mercedes-Benz. That was Wheeljack in Dark of the Moon, and he died very unceremoniously, and he wasn't too big of a contribution to the movie, but he did supply some of the little gadgets and everything, including the thing that killed Starscream, a few other things. He was a neat character in Dark of the Moon, but I don't think he was the big selling points of Dark of the Moon. He wasn't a part of, the big push. He wasn't really a very, prominent character, especially in the merchandise. Because Dark of the Moon Wheeljack, the original one from 2011, was actually canceled for a United States release. He never made it to the US. However, the Japanese Takara Tomy line for Transformers Dark of the Moon actually did release Wheeljack. And I have had this figure for many, many years, probably about 10 years or so at this point. And finally, after all this time, they have released a retail Dark of the Moon Wheeljack in, non-Japanese retail that is accessible. Because this Wheeljack, oh my goodness, definitely not an easy figure to get. So this comparison between the original 2011 Wheeljack and the new 2025 Studio Series Wheeljack, when it comes to the toys themselves, there's a lot to discuss. But when it comes to which one you should buy, just for the pure sake of availability, you'd probably want to go Studio Series. I'm just going to say that now, because the Takara one is definitely a tricky boy to get, especially 100% complete, because he comes with all these little accessories and everything. The Studio Series one is definitely more accessible in that way, and I would say in many ways more accurate as well. I feel like he's got a more accurate head sculpt. There's a few other things that just feel right with the Studio Series one. Honestly, I enjoy both of these figures. I actually like Dark of the Moon Wheeljack. I love the blue. I love the Albert Einstein look. It's an interesting take on Wheeljack. Now, granted, he's also technically just Q, but still, I really enjoy this interpretation, and I was very happy that we got a new Studio Series interpretation of it as well. I'm not sure which one's going to be my main shelf Wheeljack, honestly, because I've had well over a decade to absolutely adore this original Dark of the Moon one, and the new Studio Series one, I just opened it up today, gave it a little transformation, and I really do enjoy it. I enjoy both of these. I really do. All right, let's get into the comparison. So first and foremost, elephant in the room. They're both deluxe classes. The Studio Series one is significantly smaller this time around. That's pretty much to be expected for Studio Series Bayverse car Autobots. They always make them a lot smaller than their original toys. That's almost the case with every single one, especially Bumblebee's. Jazz was probably the worst case. That toy was tiny. But you can see definitely quite the size difference. That is for sure. But however, you have to say another big difference is how they handle the car on the figure itself. They handle it very differently for each one. You can see the original Dark of the Moon one has some folded panels on the back, and then some hinged panels and everything on the legs. And then the Studio Series one kind of has this coat look on the back. I actually kind of like these massive panels and how they just kind of position themselves right there. It does kind of give them that little lab coat look. I don't know, it's kind of a decent look with all that right there. I don't know, I kind of vibe with it. You can see also very similar car elements on the legs as well. That's kind of interesting how that's very similar. However, there's just a lot of differences. There's a lot. I can see on the shoulders, this guy actually has this hinge right here to kind of give him that, shoulder pad look he had in the movie. But this time around, it's literally just these chunks of the car that are on, hinges and everything. And honestly, they don't really get in the way of the arms too much. Maybe moving forward, you'd want to hinge them up. But yeah, it's not bad. It's definitely not a bad look. I do feel like it's a little shoulder heavy. Probably, the fact that it's going above his head is a bit much. Probably shouldn't be going that much. But honestly, there's a lot of differences too. You can see the body shape of the Studio Series one is a little bit pudgier. He has a lot of little gadgets and everything sculpted all on him. He has these little things on his little lab coat on the side. He's got these straps and everything all on his chest. But the original one actually has a pretty slender build, but he actually has physical accessories that you can unclip. He has these physical little gadgets and everything. But you can see they're just on those clips that were very popular around the era. He has like this, almost looks like a screwdriver. Like that just straight up just looks like a screwdriver. Or not a screwdriver, a drill. Drills are basically just powered screwdrivers anyway. And then this that almost looks like a like a paint gun. I don't know, it looks more like paint than anything. And then he has this massive spear on the back. Super big spear. That one you have to clip. I try to avoid actually using the clips because I feel like they're going to break. And then he has his mech tech weapon, which is like a toolkit, right? You can see he's got a little toolkit right there. But then, oh, don't mess with Q, because my toolkit is actually a buzzsaw. You can see it's actually a little saw that comes out when you activate the gimmick. It's very, very interesting. You do have an alternative handle right there as well if you want him to hold it differently. But yeah, I just find that very funny. Kind of gives me some Knockout vibes, like, prepare for surgery. Like, it's very funny. I actually really do like all the accessories on the original Dark of the Moon one. The only weapons or accessories that the Studio Series one has is like this little blaster thing, which is kind of neat, I guess. I don't really know if he actually shot around in the movie. It's been a while since I've watched Dark of the Moon. But then he also has this, which is like some kind of naginata. It's just a very large stick, basically. It's a very large stick. I can't say I remember that in the movie either, but honestly, to me, it just looks better as like a piece of gadgetry that you can just stick on his back. To me, that's the vibe I get with that. That's pretty much it with a general comparison. I guess we'll get more into some of the details of each individual figure. I've got a really soft spot for the original Dark of the Moon Q-Jack. I've got a very soft spot for this guy. Like, I love the head sculpt. It's just very, very charming. I love the hair, how it's clear. I just love that so much. Something about just the look of this guy is just so satisfying to me, so fun. I really, really enjoy it. It definitely is a figure that I just have so much fun with. I don't know if I like the Studio Series one more. I'm just so attached to this one. Like, when I got it back in the day, I understood how special it was. So the fact that, you know, I understood the specialness of it, it just made me appreciate it that little bit more. Alright, his details look very nice. I do enjoy the look of this one. His articulation, he has a ball joint at the head, which is actually very, very nice. Looks up a lot, tilts a lot. Very good ball joint. His shoulder pads can actually like hinge and move out of the way a little bit if you need them to, but they are attached to the shoulders. So the shoulders are on a swivel. And like if you want the shoulder pad to kind of retain its look when you move the arm forward, you can actually do that. So that's actually really nice. Ball joint, you do have a swivel at the bicep, then a double joint at the elbow for transformation. The waist can rotate for transformation, but keep in mind there's a lot of just junk in the way, so you don't really get too much range. The hips can move forward. They can move out just a little bit until things start colliding. He does have a thigh swivel. His knees are really poor. He doesn't really have almost any knee articulation at all. Like, that's all you can really bend the knees. It is not very good on this guy. And his ankles, you just kind of move them up and down for transformation. So overall, his articulation, like, isn't that bad. I think from the waist up, it's fantastic. But it's his knees that really kind of let the original one down. And then looking at the new Studio Series one, I really do enjoy the more accurate head sculpt. Like, that definitely does look more like Q from the movie. He does have, like, silver, like, blue-silver painted hair this time around. His mustache is painted gold. He does have a lot of nice detail. Definitely something that he could have a lot more paint in. He could have a lot more paint in the detail department, that's for sure. But it still looks nice. I'm definitely missing silver paint, though. Like, why is he all gray? Why has Studio Series been making these characters all gray? At least the shade of gray feels a little bit better to me than the Age of Extinction Prime. Well, we'll get to that in its own video. But yeah, you know, it's not a bad looking Wheeljack. And again, I actually do like the look of how all this kibble kind of comes together on his back. I don't know. I just like the angles and everything to it. It's very satisfying in an odd way. Alright, so for his articulation, his head is also on a ball joint. Has a decent amount of up and down. Swivel side to side. So you can have him say, B, I think they're going to kill us. His shoulder pads already showed are on a hinge, so you can get them out of the way for the ball joints at the shoulders. Again, swivel at the bicep. He actually does have a double jointed elbow again this time around, but one of the elbow joints only moves in like that. So, you know, if you want it just pointing straight, you only have a single ball joint, but then you have like a hinge inward for the elbow. I don't know, kind of odd. Definitely very Bayverse in its engineering, that's for sure. His lab coat can actually hinge out of the way. I do believe he has a waist rotation, doesn't he? No? Oh, I thought he did. Guess I'm mistaken. Ball joint at the hips, swivel at the thigh. He actually has knee joints this time around, and they actually made this part move out of the way just so the knee can actually bend. So this is one of the first wheeljacks. You can actually kind of get him in that, you know, crouched pose where he is about to get executed. Very sad scene, I know. Very sad. Please don't cry. But yeah, you know, it's got a little bit of toe wiggle. It's not bad. It's not bad. All right, with the bot modes out of the way, we got to transform these guys. So I'm going to go ahead and remove all of the accessories on the original Dark of the Moon Q jack, because you really can't have any of these on for transformation. And I don't really know if they really have anywhere to go a lot in the vehicle mode as well. I can't really find anywhere. It's kind of interesting, his little toolkit, you can't actually have just like sitting down if you want. Actually has like a little tripod, so that's kind of cute. I appreciate that. All right, let's get it transformed. I literally just transformed it a few minutes ago, so hopefully I remember how to do it. Because I had to clean this guy. With how old he is, I had to clean him. He was dusty. He was grimy. But I still love him. All right. I really do enjoy how the front comes together. It's just a classic, you know, fold up the arms kind of situation. Kind of reminds me of... I want to say like Generations Drift in a way. I don't know, it just has a very similar vibe to how all that kind of comes together up there. But before we like fully put it up there, we need to make sure that these side panels are properly oriented and out of our way. These are the most irritating part of this transformation, are these side panels, because you have to watch them with the arms, you have to watch them with the legs. There's a lot to watch them with because they get in the way of pretty much anything you try to do. All right, with the legs rotated, we can go ahead and get these panels attached to the side panels, and then the arms we can straighten back up. You can see a lot of this car mode has already taken shape. A lot of it already has. His arms have these tiny little pegs. Got to make sure those are lined up. And then his big old hood, we will fold that down, get this all squeezed together. Man, I love me a good old Dark of the Moon Deluxe. This was the era that I started collecting in, right? So every time I mess with a Dark of the Moon Deluxe, it does kind of bring me back. So this is a very common mistake with this figure, and one that I actually made again while I was transforming it. So some people just like fold those little foot spikes up and then they just fold it flush. No, that's not what you want to do. You want to make sure these foot spikes are tucked to the inside. You see those little cavities right there? And then once it's like tucked in, but make sure it's like not fully making friction, because then it's caught. You have to make sure it's like just enough in there for the foot to go flush. It's such a pain. And then you have to also make sure these panels are situated for it to go totally straight. And then, congratulations, you have the feet all properly transformed. This part really reminds me of Revenge of the Fallen Jolt. Like, just seeing that right there. It just feels so Jolt-esque. Even though on Jolt, these are made up of the arms, not the not the legs. All right, pretty much the last step is taking this big assembly, flipping it down, tabbing it in, making sure everything is all lined up. Very loud snap. Fold that down, and here we go. Here is our Mercedes-Benz mode for the original Dark of the Moon Q jack. Looking very, very nice. You do have the same little like spring-loaded holes that we're very used to for old Dark of the Moon Deluxes if you want to put this on the vehicle mode to have the mech tech weapon up there. But I wouldn't recommend doing that. It looks super ugly. Also, very oddly, those hinges and those little holes look like two big eyes on the top of the car. So there's our original Dark of the Moon Q jack transformed. Let's go ahead and get to the Studio Series 1 transformed. This transformation is also very, very nice. Now, you'll have to bear with me here. I've only done it the once. So hopefully I remember. One thing that I like is how the legs, you like fold them on the inside and then the feet are gonna go in halfway. And then once you fully get it around, whoa, look, you've made a section of the car. Isn't that fantastic? Isn't that so fantastic? Yeah. Man, these little Studio Series Autobot Deluxes, they definitely get on my nerves sometimes. Some of the only Studio Series Autobots I never got. For whatever reason, I never got the Studio Series Wreckers. Never got them. I think it's just because I'm happy enough with my Dark of the Moon versions. But I do have to say, with how expensive they are nowadays, I feel like I probably should have gotten them just for the sake of getting them. But then again, do I really want to collect like that? Do I want to get stuff just for the sake of getting it? I don't know. I don't know. Anyways, let's start undoing all of this car stuff on his backpack. So one thing I really enjoy are these massive panels, how they just have this big motion to flip out for the car. I just genuinely enjoy that. I think it's very fun. And then we have the windshield. Oh, it's coming together. It's coming together. And then what do we do with the arms? Oh, yeah. We use those double hinges to our advantage. And the arms are going to form the roof of the car. And the hands will kind of tuck in behind the windshield. We're getting there, guys. We're getting there. I love doing things so out of order. Man, it always bugs me whenever like I'm making a Transformers video and then like I look at the comments and people tell me I missed something. It always bugs me because I'm like, oh man, how could I miss that? But then again, like I'm just so notorious for not knowing the instructions nowadays. It's like I don't even care. I just do this, man. I just transform these boys. All right. So you have to work with that multiple series of hinges for the shoulders. You can see there's like a double hinge right there. You have to work with that. Make sure it's like inward to get it more lined up. And it's kind of a difficult process to get the shoulder fully pushed in, but if you lip it in right, it'll go in. Pretty much the last step is just squeezing everything together. And there we go. That wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad. Here is the Studio Series Wheeljack in his Mercedes-Benz mode. And here they are together. I'm just going to say it. When it comes to the alt modes, I think the Studio Series takes the cake. Just something about how it comes together, all the extra paint on the front, and then it also doesn't have the big ugly like lines on the top. I just think the Studio Series one is a lot better. The text on that like E50, what, numbers are hard. The E550, the text looks a lot better on the Studio Series one, and it's actually sculpted in. Wow. But there it's just like very lazily printed on. They did paint the exhausts on the original one, which is good. But honestly, other than that, like they both have rims on the wheels. This one has pinned wheels, which is always better. Yeah, this one is scooting more than rolling. This one is rolling more than scooting. So, yeah. I don't know, man. I do like both of these cars. That one actually has a little bit of silver for the handles for the doors. Both of these are very nice, but I do think I prefer the Studio Series when it comes to the car mode. I just like how it comes together. I think it looks a little nicer, just a little bit. But you can see the sizes aren't that off in the car mode. They're not that off. They're pretty similar. That's for sure. And for weapon storage on the Studio Series, you know how little I care about this. We can tab this big thing in the same spot it was in the robot mode. And we can just tab this little thing into that as well. And voila, look. We have a super ugly thing on the side of a car. Isn't that so cool? Don't you like that? Don't you like that? I don't like that. I don't like that. Well, guys, that's pretty much it. There's my old versus new of the original 2011 Dark of the Moon Deluxe Wheeljack that was canceled for stateside and other releases, but was released by Takara Tomy, versus the Studio Series 2025 Deluxe Wheeljack, Q, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, very interesting old versus new this time around. I personally, when it comes to the toys themselves, I think I've got the softest spot for the original Dark of the Moon one. I just love that thing. I just very much enjoy it. But just for the pure sake of how unavailable it is, how expensive it is, how difficult to obtain it is, I have to recommend the Studio Series 1 over it. I have to. The Studio Series 1 is a perfectly serviceable Wheeljack for your collection, and it's one that I think is a very nice figure. I expected to kind of have a mixed reaction with the Studio Series 1, but no, I think it's really good. I think it's really good. I don't think it's on, like, you know, TLK Hot Rod or Dark of the Moon Dino level of good. I don't think it's on that level, but it's still pretty good. I definitely do enjoy it. And with that, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Let me know what you guys think about these figures down in the comments below. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer the original 2011 or the new 2025? The fact that there is 14 years in between these figures is crazy. It's mind-blowing how there's 14 years between them. Oh man, time is an illusion. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching. Special shout out to channel members as always. Thank you all so much for your continued support. Have a great one guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.